And let's talk about banking because we're lucky enough to be joined now by Sreeram Iyer, the Chief Operating Officer for the institutional component of the ANZ Bank, with us here. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's just talk, I guess, broadly speaking, before we perhaps talk about institutional banking. But when it comes to retail banking, we're just having a conversation. No one goes into a bank anymore. You can do it all on your phone. You can do it all online. How much of a challenge has it been for global banks to really meet up with the rapid change in technology, keep up with the pace that we've seen when it comes to smartphone technology, devices, I guess just the improvement of the internet, 5G coming soon as well, when it comes to being able to offer your products and services to consumers so that they don't have to actually step foot inside a bank?
Yeah, it's a good question, Matt. In fact, if you think about banking as an industry, for several decades, banks have invested in technology in a meaningful way. In fact, there are about 25,000 odd banks in the world, and every 12 months, the estimate is that $600 billion goes into investing in new technologies or in keeping up with technology. So there is an extraordinary experience in the banking industry on adopting technology. However, I think this time around, the capability of the machine has now moved up to so many notches above that banks are finding it a challenge to figure out how do you marry that with your former platforms and systems that you have to dealing with new companies and new fintech, startup entities. So therein lies the challenge. And how do you liberate precious capital to be able to invest to keep up with just the rising, unending customer expectations? So it's both ways.
Is it a partnership strategy then that banks really have to look at? You know, there are some great entrepreneurs out there, some great fintech startups that are coming up with new and innovative products, and we're likely to see some of them here at this summit over the next day or so. Is that the way that banks can, I guess, get in on the action then, partner with some of these up-and-coming new fintech companies, these entrepreneurs that have some great ideas, that have spent a lot of time doing research and development and coming up with these new modes of banking, for instance, or financial technology? Is that the way to do it?
I do think so, and I think that is what is happening. In fact, a few years ago when I started dealing with fintechs, it was quite hard to find adequately mature fintechs who have business options for corporate banking and institutional banking business, which I'm a part of. But now I see increasing maturity in their capability to scale up to work with big institutions like ours. And banks too have to, adapt our old ways of working. It's first about strategy, culture. So you got to figure out how you change your way. You can't have a 100-page terms and conditions document presented to a fintech company. So there's both ways, and fintechs have to learn that it's not a 6-week deployment that matters. It probably has to last for several decades, right? So I think most banks have now started learning the partnership model. We too have, and we deal with several fintechs now for our corporate and institutional businesses.
We were just chatting before we started this segment about the great unbanked, particularly in parts of Southeast Asia, and the fact that there are a number of people, in some instances, in some parts of the world, it can actually be in the billions of people that don't have access to banking, yet they're connected via smartphone technology. So how does a bank like ANZ try and harness that? And again, is it through local partnerships in these countries where there might be a great number of people that don't have bank accounts but that are connected digitally?
Yeah, that's a good observation. I can make a general comment. We ourselves do not have a retail banking business in this part of the world anymore. But it's very clear that as you use technologies to reach out to the unbanked, it is not as straightforward as the technology itself seemingly offers, because it is about what you do from a business point of view. The environment in banking as a whole is one where returns are declining, and so you got to do something which enables the improvement in your returns, because it calls for a lot of investment. And there are other, identity-related challenges. There's the challenge about actual money flow as opposed to opening of accounts. So you don't want mere dormant accounts in your books. So But it's the beginning, and the opportunity is quite big, as we all can see.
You mentioned before institutional banking. Obviously, that's your specialty. What are the opportunities there when it comes to institutional banking and new technology? Does it fit within the same mold as what we've seen in the retail banking landscape, or is it something that's totally different? Because we're obviously talking about vastly greater sums of money in institutional banking than we are generally when you look at day-to-day retail banking.
Yeah, spot on, Matt. If the way we like to phrase our approach is the new ABCD is really the combination of artificial intelligence, blockchain, cloud, data, and the composition of all of those toolkits means that you can be more ambitious in your institutional banking capability. In fact, we've done a fair bit of work using machine learning in our trade business, where international trade, there are complicated processes around trade. There are settlements, there are letters of credit, there are documentary checks. That is a big use case which is now gathering momentum. And if you think of the maturity, institutional banking has got huge opportunities in all the traditional product sets that most banks offer, whether it's in our global markets business, in settlements, in trade, in lending, and in channels where our corporate clients can interact with banks for managing their liquidity. So you're absolutely right. A lot can be done in institutional banking.